Come on, my friends. The front office is moving the pieces and the backroom talks are heating up. The first bomb, it's all about the offense, and it involves a guy who's begging for a chance. We just need the team to convert on third downs so he can finally shine. But it doesn't stop there. No way, because we've got a name dropping into the GM's lap that fits our system like a glove, plus a tactical shift on the offensive line that could define the future of the franchise in a way no one saw coming. But before we really dive into this breakdown, smash that subscribe button. It's free, and it fires up this whole conversation. Drop a like to spread this gospel to every single Chargers fan out there. If you want to give that extra boost, click the Hypar button to launch this video into the stratosphere. Stay right here, because I'm going to keep you updated every single day with the latest Chargers news. I promise you that. We have to talk about what's going on with our run game, because that loss to the Jaguars left the bitterest taste in my mouth, man. Dropping to 7-4 in a season that promised so much, it hurts. But what's truly worrying is looking at that backfield and seeing a lack of that explosive piece. We're in the bye week, licking our wounds, and the question that won't go away is about the return of our rookie, Omarion Hampton. The kid's been out since week 5. Man, that's an eternity without our main ground weapon. He was leading the team with over 300 yards before he hurt his ankle and hit the IR. And with the news that Najee Harris tore his Achilles and is done for the season, the responsibility on Hampton's return has tripled. We know the offense gets predictable without him, and Justin Herbert ends up having to sling the ball all over the field, which is not the ideal system we want to run. The impact of this is gigantic because we are smack in the middle of the AFC playoff race. We can't afford to slip up now. We need that threat in the backfield to open up the play action. Coach Jim Harbaugh dropped a hint that there's a real chance he could return to practice after this week off. That would be huge. But there's a technical detail here. He needs to have that 21-day practice window activated. He can't just show up and play. Are you kidding me? The staff has to see if he can handle the grind in practice before putting him back on the active roster. It's a race against the clock because every game now is a pre-playoff matchup. In my opinion, we can't rush the kid and risk losing him for good. But we also can't just wait for a miracle from the backups we've got. Hampton brought a different kind of electricity, that ability to turn a short run into something huge. We lost that. The team is missing that element of surprise. If he comes back against the Raiders in week 13, November 30th, it could be the shot of adrenaline the locker room needs for this final stretch. But there's that big doubt hanging in the air about how close to 100% he'll be right away. And this is where the exclusive moment comes in. Few people are paying attention to the exact timeline. The decision is going to be made next week, depending on how he progresses right now. It's a critical moment. Harbaugh was crystal clear in saying everything depends on his daily evolution. So, the red alert is screaming up there in Los Angeles. Now, I want to hear from you. Comment down below if you think Hampton comes back and saves the day, or if he'll need a couple of games to get his rhythm back. We got to be realistic. But look, while we wait for him, a market opportunity has emerged that could change the configuration of this offense in a way no one expected. This market situation dropped like a bomb, and it could be the solution we've been praying for. The Houston Texans made a decision that caught everyone off guard by waiving Dameon Pierce. That's right, the guy is free on the waiver wire. And when we look at our roster, it's blindingly obvious that the Chargers cannot ignore this chance. Pierce is only 25, he's young, he's got tank to burn, and he's only 2 years removed from an absurd rookie season. Multiple analysts are already calling it out. Los Angeles is his natural landing spot. His style is that north-south, aggressive, tackle-breaking runner. Man, it is exactly what our offensive coordinator, Greg Roman, loves. The immediate impact would be giving us depth in a position group that's gasping for air. With Omarion Hampton still uncertain about his return and Najee Harris out for the season, we're out of reliable options. Kamani Vidal has shown some flashes, it's true, but he also got hurt in the last game and has been inconsistent. The naked truth is that, outside of those Vidal moments, our running back production has been zero since Hampton's injury. Against the Jaguars, it was clear that we were relying on players who, with all due respect, shouldn't even be on an NFL roster fighting for the playoffs. You can't sustain a campaign like that. For me, bringing in Pierce is a mandatory move. He doesn't have to be the star carrying the whole load, but he brings that physicality that's missing. The guy ran for over 900 yards as a rookie on a bad team. His problem in Houston was scheme, purely scheme. They switched to a zone system that doesn't match his style. Here, in Roman's power system, he can find that aggressive football again. This is that low-risk, sky-high reward kind of signing. Joe Hortiz is always talking about improving the bottom of the roster, about churning the roster. And this is the perfect definition of that. And there's a detail that makes this urgent. He's on the waiver wire right now. Any team can try to snag him, but our need is screaming loud. It's a chance to add legitimate talent without spending draft capital, just taking on a contract that's worthwhile for the potential. Pierce has more balance than a lot of veterans out there and more power than most of our backups. He just needs the right place. And the right place is here. I want to know your take. Comment if you bring in Dameon Pierce to split carries, or if you think it's better to bet on who we already have at home. But hold up, because reinforcing the run game is useless if the wall in front doesn't hold the line, and a tough-as-nails name is popping up. When we take a cold, hard look at this final stretch of the season, it becomes crystal clear that the durability of our offensive line is the ultimate deciding factor. It's what separates a playoff run from watching the postseason from the sofa. And it's precisely in this do-or-die scenario that the name Nick Gates emerges as a very interesting chess piece for our front office. The guy is 29 and brings a baggage of resilience that seems tailor-made for the culture Jim Harbaugh has installed here. He's that hard-nosed player, who isn't afraid of a fight. And that fits perfectly with what we need right now, which is interior line depth when bodies start breaking down. The tactical impact of this move would be immediate. Greg Roman's system demands mobility and aggressiveness to open up those running lanes, and Gates, when healthy, delivers that with absurd tenacity. He's overcome serious injuries in his career and came back playing at a high level. Having him on the roster would be a luxury insurance policy for both the center and guard spots. This allows us to maintain the complexity of our runs and RPOs without having to simplify the playbook if a starter goes down. Keeping Justin Herbert protected and the run game efficient is the number 1, 2, and 3 priority. I see this in a great light. Financially, we're talking about a low-risk move, probably a veteran minimum contract that won't break the bank, but that adds invaluable locker room presence. His work ethic, that quiet leadership, it adds so much with guys like Rashawn Slater. Of course, his medical history requires scrutiny. After all, availability is the best ability in the NFL, but the cost-benefit ratio leans heavily positive. We play in the AFC West. Man, the pounding is different against these elite pass rushes. This is one of those backroom moves that the average fan ignores, but that wins games in January. Gates would bring that street fight mentality we value so much, acting as a stabilizer on critical downs and in the red zone. There, experience counts way more than pure athleticism. It's a calculated maneuver to bulletproof the roster against the unforeseen. Tell me, do you think it's worth bringing in a veteran with an injury history for the experience, or is it better to give the kids some reps? Comment if you agree with this protection plan. And pay attention because the next point hits hard, since this arrival might be preparing the ground for a much bigger internal shift. This discussion about the offensive line pulls a thread that could reveal the future of our center position, and the answer might be right under our noses this whole time. We know the line has suffered with injuries all season, and only 2 Warriors have played every snap. One of them is Zion Johnson. And let's be honest here, Zion has been, by far, our most consistent offensive lineman. The guy is playing elite ball. The problem is, he's in the last year of his rookie deal, since the 5th-year option wasn't picked up. And Jim Harbaugh loves his consistency. He calls him Ted, there every day. The guy never misses. Now, the impact of this for the future is what gets me. Our general manager, Joe Hortiz, came from the Ravens school, from the legendary Ozzie Newsome. And there in Baltimore, they had a very specific plan for centers. Draft them, develop them, and test them. Before Tyler Linderbaum, the last 3 starting Ravens centers were drafted at other positions and moved to the middle. Ryan Jensen, Matt Skura, Bradley Bozeman, they all started as guards. And guess what the Chargers did with Zion in the preseason? They gave him snaps at center. At the time, it seemed like just a random test, but now the pieces are falling into place. My opinion is we're seeing a long-term plan being executed right in front of us. Zion has all the physical and mental attributes that Harbaugh loves. He's smart, strong, And physically, he matches almost identically the profile of the centers the Ravens always used, but he's even more athletic. That preseason test wasn't a fluke. It might have been the seed for 2026. If we re-sign him, don't be shocked if his future is commanding the line of scrimmage, making the calls, and leading the middle of the protection. It's a masterstroke if it's true. You take your best, most consistent interior player and put him at the cerebral position on the line. Zion has played both guard spots. He has versatility. Transforming him into the line's anchor would be following a proven recipe for success. This changes how we look at his contract extension. We're not just paying a guard, we're paying the future OL leader. I want to know from you, Zion Johnson at center in the future. Stroke of genius or just a hot take? Comment what you think of this tactical possibility. And after all this, that's when you can really understand the team's mood in recent weeks. Man, after all this, you can say the Chargers are truly turning the corner. We're seeing the team bulletproof itself with intelligence, thinking about both the urgency of the moment and the future of the franchise. This sequence of moves makes it clear the front office is playing chess while the rest are playing checkers. Comment below. This space belongs to everyone who lives and breathes the Chargers. See you in the next video.